When you love someone deeply, it feels like the entire universe starts to revolve around that person. Every plan, every dream, every bit of joy somehow connects back to them. You wake up thinking of their voice, their smile, their presence. Your mornings feel empty without their good morning, and your nights seem incomplete without their words echoing in your mind. Love can make everything brighter, warmer, and more meaningful until one day, that warmth fades. Suddenly, the one who made you feel seen no longer looks at you the same way. The person who used to be your safe place becomes a stranger, and that's when life presents one of its hardest tests to focus on yourself and let them go. It's a painful truth that we often resist. We think if we just hold on tighter, if we just love harder, if we just fix this one thing, everything will go back to how it used to be. But life doesn't work that way. The tighter you hold on to something that's trying to leave, the more it hurts. Sometimes, letting go isn't about weakness, it's about wisdom. It's about realizing that not everyone you love is meant to stay. Some people are chapters, not the whole book. Some relationships are lessons, not lifelong stories. You see, the first mistake most people make when they lose someone is to start blaming themselves. They replay every memory, every conversation, every argument, trying to find where it all went wrong. They convince themselves that maybe, if they were better, smarter, more loving, more understanding, things could have been different. But that's not true. You cannot control another person's choices. You cannot make someone love you, stay loyal, or see your value if they're not ready to. You can only control your response, and your response determines who you become after the heartbreak. The truth is, holding on to someone who has already moved on is not strength. It's resistance to growth. You're not meant to keep walking in circles around what hurt you. Life is about forward motion, progress, evolution, becoming. When you refuse to let go, you anchor yourself to the past. You stop your own evolution. You hold yourself hostage to a moment that no longer exists. Letting go, as painful as it feels, is not the end. It's the beginning of a deeper relationship with yourself. You have to understand something. Love does not lose its meaning just because it ends. What you felt was real. What you gave was genuine. But now, your love must transform. It must evolve from attachment to acceptance, from need to independence. The person you loved played a role in your story, but they were never meant to define it. When someone walks out of your life, you can choose to collapse or you can choose to rebuild. That choice will shape the rest of your life. Self-worth is not determined by who stays, it's determined by who you become after they leave. Every heartbreak is a mirror. It reflects how much you depended on someone else for your sense of worth. When they go, it forces you to face yourself. And that's where true growth begins. Because now, you must ask yourself, who am I without them? What do I want? What makes me happy? What kind of life do I want to create? You see, that's the blessing hidden inside the pain. When someone leaves, life is simply redirecting you back to yourself. It's saying, you gave too much of yourself away, now it's time to take it back. The love you used to pour into them must now be poured into you, your dreams, your goals, your mental health, your peace. This is where healing begins. Healing isn't forgetting, it's rediscovering. It's finding yourself again after losing yourself in someone else. You can't force someone to see your worth if they're blind to it. You can't make them appreciate your love if they're busy chasing something else. You can't make them stay if their heart has already left. But what you can do is rise. You can use the pain as fuel. Pain is one of the most powerful sources of transformation. It either breaks you or builds you, depending on how you choose to respond. Every person who has ever risen from heartbreak did so not because they didn't feel pain, but because they refused to stay in it forever. When you shift your focus from what you lost to what you can gain, everything changes. The end of a relationship can be the start of a revolution within you. You start to realize that maybe this was never about losing them, maybe it was about finding yourself. That's the moment where your strength begins to grow. The version of you that depended on them begins to fade, and a new, stronger, wiser version begins to emerge. Your healing begins the moment you stop asking why they left and start asking what life is trying to teach you. Every heartbreak has a message. Every ending has meaning. Sometimes it's not about them leaving, it's about you finally learning what you deserve. Maybe you were giving too much. Maybe you were settling for less than you were worth. Maybe you were losing your identity just to keep someone who wasn't even trying. Sometimes letting go isn't losing something good, it's removing something that was blocking something better. Not everyone you lose is a loss. Some exits are blessings in disguise. Sometimes the people who walk away are doing you a favor. They remove their energy from your life so that you can finally rise without their weight holding you down. Rejection often feels like destruction in the moment, but it's really redirection. The universe doesn't take things away to hurt you. It removes what's not aligned with your growth. Pain is a teacher, not a punishment. It's preparing you for the next version of yourself. Think about it. When you go through heartbreak, you're forced to grow. You're forced to develop emotional strength, patience, and clarity. You're forced to learn to stand on your own 2 feet again. That's the lesson. That's the power. You were never meant to depend on someone else to feel whole. You were meant to discover that everything you were searching for in them already existed within you. So, stop checking their profile. Stop rereading old messages hoping to feel what you used to feel. Stop looking for closure in someone who has already moved on. Closure doesn't come from them, it comes from you. The energy you spend looking back is the same energy you need to move forward. Every second you invest in the past is a second stolen from your future. You can't step into a new chapter while you're still clinging to the old one. You might miss them, and that's okay. You might still love them, and that's okay too. Love doesn't disappear overnight. But love that hurts more than it heals is not love worth holding on to. There's a difference between remembering and reliving. Remembering is natural. Reliving is self-destruction. You have to learn to let the memories exist without allowing them to control you. Let them remind you of how deeply you can feel, not how deeply you can suffer. Energy flows where attention goes. Whatever you feed grows. If you keep feeding your pain, it will consume you. If you start feeding your purpose, it will transform you. Every minute you spend healing, growing, learning, and improving is an act of self-love. The same energy you once gave to chasing someone can be used to chase your dreams. Imagine where you could be if you redirected all that emotional energy into building the best version of yourself. Wake up earlier. Move your body. Learn a new skill. Read. Build something. Create something. Do something that makes your soul feel alive again. Because when you start building yourself, you stop waiting for someone to complete you. You start to realize you were already whole, you just forgot. That's when true confidence is born. That's when peace begins to grow quietly within you. The pain you feel now will fade, but what you build from that pain will last forever. The person who broke you will one day become a distant memory, but the person you became after the heartbreak, that version of you will define your destiny. The future is waiting for you, but it can't reach you until you let go of the past. You have to release what was to make room for what can be. So, take a deep breath. Accept what happened. Forgive what hurt you. Not for them, for yourself. You deserve peace. You deserve growth. You deserve the kind of love that doesn't leave you questioning your worth. And that kind of love begins with you. The day you finally focus on yourself, everything changes: your energy, your mindset, your confidence, your future. You start to glow differently. You start to attract differently because you're no longer chasing someone, you're chasing your purpose. And that's where true freedom begins. Energy flows where attention goes. Whatever you focus on expands. If you focus on your pain, it multiplies. If you focus on your purpose, it strengthens. This is one of the simplest truths in life, yet the hardest to live by when your heart is broken. When you're hurt, your mind keeps replaying everything: the moments, the conversations, the promises, the laughter, the way things felt when it was all right. You start living in the past, feeding memories that no longer exist. Every time you relive it, the wound opens again, and you wonder why you can't heal. But healing can't begin until you stop feeding the pain. The problem isn't that you're broken, it's that you keep picking at the scars. You check their social media, hoping for a sign. You look for their name, their face, their approval, anything that gives you a temporary sense of connection. You tell yourself you've moved on, but deep down, you haven't let go of the idea of them. That's where transformation begins, the moment you stop looking outward for closure and start looking inward for peace. The moment you decide that the only thing worth chasing is your own growth. Letting go is not giving up, it's growing up. It's realizing that peace has more value than pride, and that your self-respect is worth more than someone's inconsistent attention. Growth happens in silence, when you stop trying to convince others of your worth and start living like you already know it. It happens the moment you stop arguing with the past and begin building your future. You see, maturity isn't measured by how long you hold on. It's measured by how gracefully you let go when something no longer serves your peace. You can't keep walking with people who keep pulling you backwards. You can't build your future while your heart is still stuck in yesterday. At some point you must make peace with what didn't work out. You must stop hoping for an apology that may never come, or a return that would only repeat the same pain. Acceptance is the bridge to peace. When you stop resisting reality, you stop suffering. You stop trying to rewrite a story that's already finished. Letting go doesn't erase the memories. It doesn't deny the love that once existed. It simply means you've decided to stop allowing the past to control your present. You learn to look back with gratitude for the lessons, not bitterness for the loss. Every heartbreak teaches you something about patience, self-worth, boundaries, and resilience. It teaches you that you can survive without the people you thought you couldn't live without. It teaches you that healing isn't forgetting, it's remembering without pain. Peace becomes your new priority. You start to realize that you no longer want to argue, beg, or explain. You no longer want to fight for someone's attention or affection. You simply want peace. Peace in your mind, peace in your heart, peace in your life, and once you taste that peace, you'll never trade it for chaos again. You'll learn to walk away from people, situations, and habits that cost you your calm. That's when you know you've grown, when your peace matters more than your pride. The most powerful form of love you can give is to yourself. Loving yourself means setting boundaries, saying no when you need to, and choosing yourself even when it's hard. It means no longer shrinking to fit into spaces where you don't belong. It means no longer proving your worth to people who never valued it in the first place. When you truly start valuing yourself, everything in your life begins to change. The wrong people fade away naturally, and the right ones find their way to you. The truth is, self-love is not selfish, it's survival. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't keep giving love to others when you're starving for it yourself. When you start taking care of your own needs, dreams, and emotions, you begin to radiate a kind of strength that doesn't depend on external validation. You become complete within yourself. You stop begging for attention because you've learned to give it to yourself. You stop chasing people because you're too busy chasing growth. It's time to realize that you don't need closure from someone who broke you. You don't need their explanation to move on. You don't need their words to heal. The only closure you need is the one you give yourself, the quiet decision to stop waiting, to stop hoping, to stop reliving. Closure comes when you choose to close the door on what no longer aligns with your peace. It comes when you finally say, I deserve better, and mean it. Letting go is hard because it means facing the silence, the empty space where someone used to be. It's in that silence that your mind will try to trick you. It will remind you of all the good moments, all the laughter, all the warmth. It will whisper that maybe, just maybe, things could go back to the way they were. But that's an illusion. The past is not coming back. And the longer you hold on to the illusion, the longer you delay your healing. You have to remind yourself that the person who left was part of your story, not the end of it. They were there to teach you, not to complete you. When you finally accept that truth, you begin to shift. You start to see the beauty in your own company. You start to build routines that bring you peace. You start to reconnect with your passions, the things you once put aside for someone else. You begin to glow again, not because someone loves you, but because you love yourself enough to keep growing. That glow, that confidence, that quiet strength is something no one can take away from you. You can't start the next chapter of your life if you keep rereading the last one. Sometimes you have to close the book not because it ended badly, but because it no longer inspires you. Life is full of new beginnings, but you won't see them if you keep looking backward. Letting go isn't forgetting the past. It's refusing to let it define your future. You can honor what you had while still moving forward. The future has new people, new lessons, new love, and new peace waiting for you. But you have to be brave enough to take the first step. Time will heal the wounds. The pain you feel today will not last forever. One day you'll wake up and realize that your heart doesn't ache anymore. You'll catch yourself smiling for no reason. You'll feel lighter, freer, more alive, and you'll realize that you didn't need them to be happy, you just needed time to remember who you are. Healing takes patience, but it also takes purpose. You have to actively choose healing every single day. You can't just wait for time to fix everything. You have to work on yourself, build yourself, and believe in yourself again. The same way pain entered your life, peace will return quietly, slowly, naturally. It won't happen all at once, but it will happen. You'll feel it in the way your mind quiets, in the way your heart stops racing when you hear their name, in the way you start to laugh again without forcing it. That's when you'll know you're free. Not because the past is erased, but because it no longer controls you. Your comeback will always be stronger than your setback. Every great story of success begins with a moment of struggle. Every hero has a moment where they fall apart, but what defines them is that they don't stay there. They rise, they rebuild, they transform. The pain that once broke them becomes the reason they succeed. And that's what's happening to you right now. You're in the process of becoming. You're not broken, you're being rebuilt. The world admires those who rise after being knocked down. The ones who turn heartbreak into hustle, loss into lesson, pain into power. You can be one of them.